In 2024, I sold over $700,000 in my eBay to Amazon flipping business. Out of that $700,000, I made approximately $175,000 profit. And out of that $175,000, after paying my team, reinvesting back in the business, Amazon fees, all of that, I paid myself about $130,000 cash flow in my bank account. And the coolest part about my eBay to Amazon flipping business is I barely work in the business anymore. And that's kind of what I want to talk about in this video. And I don't mean this in like in a braggy way or like in a rub it in people's face way, but I kind of wanted to talk to the person in this video who maybe you're making really good money in your eBay business or your eBay to Amazon business or your Amazon business or your Poshmark business, right? Or like whatever reselling business you're running, right? Because this is a reselling YouTube channel. You're making really, really good money. I want to talk to that person, but that person is going through a problem. And I went through this problem before. I used to make really, really good money in my Amazon business, but I was spending all my time in the business. Can you relate to that? Are you making really good money right now? Have you overcome that challenge of figuring out like how to find products, how to sell them, good ROIs, good profits? You're making good money, but now you're like, I want to take it to the next level. Like I really want to turn this into a business. And even though you have a business, right? Because you work for yourself, maybe you're incorporated or whatever, you're making money on your own. Like you control your income because you go out and you buy products. Maybe you're doing wholesale or RA or E to A or thrifting or whatever, right? Like you're running a business, but you feel like I kind of have a glorified job in a sense, because if I stop working, if I stop spending 50, 60, 70 hours a week in the business dries up. And I went through that, right? Because there was a time, I'll bring you back to about 4 years ago, 3.5, 4 years ago, when I had first started my eBay to Amazon flipping business. And I was doing over 6 figures a year in sales, but I was spending 40, 50, 60 hours per week. I was doing everything in the business and I was starting to make good money. Like I wasn't getting rich at that time. You know, I'm doing a lot more than I was when I first started, but you know, I was sourcing all the items. I was on the computer all day long. If I got sick or I didn't feel like sourcing, guess what? The business started to die because there wasn't inventory getting checked into Amazon. If I wasn't shipping items out when I used to sell on eBay and all that, I wouldn't make any money. I would have defects. My account would pretty much go to crap, right? If I wasn't listing my items, if I wasn't prepping the items, if I wasn't doing product research, if I wasn't the one purchasing the products and, you know, dealing with returns and messaging eBay sellers and opening cases and fixing stranded inventory, if I wasn't doing everything, the business was essentially slowly dying or it wasn't growing. Can you relate to that? That's what I want to talk to in this video, because I have literally, and again, I always have to say this as a preface, because there's people in the comments who are like, you're lying, you're bragging, that I'm not trying to lie or brag, guys. Like I've been in this business for a long time. I'm just trying to be real. I have gotten to the point now in my eBay to Amazon flipping business where I'm putting over $10,000 per month in my pocket, actual cash flow, not just profit, like actual cash flow. And I'm barely working at this point. I know it sounds like I'm Tim Ferriss, 4-hour work week, late night infomercial, real estate, but that's not the case. It's actually possible depending on the type of business that you're running. I'm not even kidding when I say this. There's some weeks I do not work at all and my business keeps growing. There's some weeks where at max nowadays in 2025, I don't work any more than an hour per week, sometimes 2 hours if there's like a massive problem, or if like maybe let's just say I had to fire someone or rehire someone or there's an issue. But I haven't had any, like my team that's with me right now in my eBay to Amazon flipping business. I have 2 virtual assistants who source. I have someone part-time, one of my sourcer's husbands who reprices, and then I have someone full-time who does all like the stranded inventory, opening cases, any of those problems, helping with the prep center, different things like that. And then I have the actual prep center. I haven't had to hire anybody since my prep center 15 months ago. So I've gotten to the point where I barely work in my business. And I want to talk about that. That's who I want to talk to, the person who wants to be able to do that, right? The biggest problem I notice with people who they start to they have the margins, they're growing their business, they have good ROIs, good profits, you know, the reason they're not able to buy back their time is they don't trust anybody. They're not delusional, but they feel like if they outsource anything, the quality is going to suffer and the business is going to die. And I'll tell you right now, that's not true, especially if you pick one thing at a time, okay? So you got to understand, guys, in my business, the reason I don't work anymore is because I have such good margins with my eBay to Amazon flipping business. And that's one thing you need. You need margin. If you don't have good margins in your business, you're not going to be able to hire other people. So you need to have good margins. But the reason I don't work anymore in my business, I just overlook it almost as just like an owner, right? Like, I mean, I am the owner, but like, that's all I do. I just look at the KPIs, the key performance indicators. I just look at the numbers. I just make sure that things are working and, you know, the machine's fluid and it's profitable. If it's not, I come in, I fix and I tweak things. But the reason I don't work anymore is because I looked at my eBay to Amazon business as a machine, and I looked at it as like different sectors, right? And think about it. Like when it comes to an eBay to Amazon flipping business, there's different parts of it, right? Number one is sourcing, right? So you got to source products, and then you have to analyze them, and then you have to buy them. Then there is the prep. So I have a prep center. The good thing about that is I don't have to train them. They, you know, if you get a good prep center, that's a machine that's working on its own. But before I had a prep center, I had to list my items, right? And then I had to ship the items. And then think about it. Then on the back end, there's stranded inventory, there's repricing, there's lost shipments. Like there's a whole bunch of different things, but it's a machine. When you're selling on Amazon, it's a machine, and there's different parts of the machine. And all I did is I just started to slowly pick away at things that I wanted to outsource. So if you're in a position where you're like, I want to be able to continue to make really good money and grow my business, but I don't want to have to be the one who does everything, you've got to pick one thing at a time. And keep in mind, when you pick one part of the machine to be able to outsource, it is slow. It is grueling. It is not something where a lot of people think, okay, I'm working 80 hours per week. You know, in the next 3 months, I'm not going to have anything on my plate. That's just not the way it works. Like, at least for me, step number one is psychologically, you have to start to think, even if a job gets done 80 to 90% as good, my business is going to grow. Yeah, I agree. A lot of times the things that you're really, really good at, maybe someone else can't do it as good as you, but I could promise you, eventually they might be able to do it better than you, but it takes time. So psychologically, you have to stop telling yourself the lie that if I outsource things, the business is going to die. You have to psychologically make the decision that, okay, even if something's only as good, like gets done only as good 60 or 70 or 80%, you have to remind yourself, people love to learn. People love to grow, especially if you incentivize them. Like if you're a good mentor and a good coach, you can get people to do a really great job, but it takes time. Like what I do in my business a lot of times is I shoot Loom videos, I do screen recordings. So you got to psychologically get over the issue that you're not willing to trust people, and then you got to pick one thing that you want to outsource. So maybe you're working 80 hours per week in your business. Most people aren't. Let's just say, whatever, we'll say 80 hours per week. Pick something, like write down everything that you're doing in your business. Maybe you're spending 40 hours per week sourcing and 10 hours per week shipping and 10 hours per week repricing and 5 hours per week opening cases. Write it all down, get a piece of paper out of everything that you do, and then pick one thing that you want to start outsourcing, because outsourcing and hiring and training people, it's a muscle, okay? It's a muscle that will grow over time. But pick one thing and outsource it. And maybe that'll save you 5 hours per week. But what you have to understand is when you outsource, it's a process. Like I said before, you're not gonna be able to outsource repricing within a month. It's gonna be like when you outsource something, at least in my opinion, when you hire somebody, like, yeah, it does help if they have experience, and it does help if, you know, they're very motivated and maybe it's a good reference, or, you know, they're super hungry. But you have to understand that out of the gate, most people aren't going to do that great of a job. Like you have to invest in people. You have to train them. So maybe the first week they're only 10% effective, and then the next week 30%, and then the next week 50%, and the next week 80%. But eventually what happens is you get to replace yourself. And instead of spending the 5 hours per week doing whatever, fixing shared inventory, now you have that free time to do nothing, or you can double down on things that create more income in your business. So for me, that's what I did in my business. I actually went after the thing that was the most time consuming in the beginning, which was hiring somebody to source. Because in my business, eBay to Amazon, that's the most time consuming thing to source, you know, to sit on Replen Catcher, to make best offers, to send messages, to sit there refreshing, going through the replens list. I mean, I have 2 people that do that full time. So that's 16 hours per day I would have to spend to be able to replicate what my team currently does, which is impossible. So take a look. Like if you want to buy back your time, you have to ask yourself, what is my time worth? Okay. This is a really, really great exercise. Ask yourself, like, look at the amount of profit that you're making in your business and how much time you're spending, and calculate, what is your time worth? If your time is worth $40, $50, $60 per hour, why are you doing tasks that you can outsource for $5, $7, $8 per hour? Right? Why are you doing that? Well, you might be thinking, well, I don't have anything better to do. Well, the truth is you actually do, because if you could outsource these tasks that you could hire someone to do for $7, $8, $9, $10 an hour, in my business, a lot of them are $3, $4, $5 per hour. You could focus on other things to grow your business. You could focus on building systems. You could focus on building processes. You could focus on making decisions that really make an impact in your business. Like one decision that I made that I never would have been able to make and learn and research and like execute on if I didn't have so much free time, because I outsourced a lot of stuff, was raising my average selling price. In 2022, my average selling price was $38. Now in 2024, it's $111. I'll put a screenshot that I posted on my Instagram and Facebook comparing 2022 to 2024. I sold less items, did almost double gross revenue, and almost tripled my average selling price. And that's because I had the time to see what I needed to do and to execute on that, right? Researching new products, and there's a bunch of stuff that I had to do. But if I was stuck in the business spending 50, 60 hours per week, then I never would have been able to, make that really great decision and be able to just streamline my business. Because if I was still selling 12, 13, 14,000 products per year like I used to, it would just be a nightmare now. But yeah, with that being said, you have to learn to trust other people. I see a lot of great people who make really good money, but they have no life. And if you love running your Amazon business and sourcing and sitting on a computer all day and listing and shipping, then you know what? Do what you got to do. If that's what you enjoy and that's your calling and you love it and you love sitting on the computer. For me, I like being outside. I like riding bikes with my girlfriend or going on hikes with my friends. I love, coming over to Whole Foods and, working for an hour or two on my computer and then, taking off and dancing some salsa, right? Or going and hanging out with my girlfriend, watching, maybe we have time to watch a TV show or go out to a movie, or, we take off for the weekend and go out to Rhode Island. Like I like traveling. Like I love getting outdoors. I don't want to be on the computer all day long. The problem is, if you do not build the muscle of outsourcing, if you do not build the muscle of investing in other people, if you do not build the muscle of getting over these delusional thoughts that we all have, thinking that, hey, if I don't do it, it's not going to get done right? I hate to say it, but that's how my dad was. I love my dad, but he ran a accounting firm, and he just did everything. He did everything. And I remember tax season, he'd be at the office for 16, 17, 18 hours a day. And his thought process was, well, first of all, if someone else does it, they're going to screw it up. That's number one. And then number two, his thought process is, there's only so much money coming in, so why would I have someone else do it when I could just make that money? But what he never thought was, if you took the time and the patience to invest in somebody else, you'd be able to get all the stuff off of your plate that stresses you out, that you don't like. You'd have more free time, right? And then also you could actually take that free time, if you wanted to find ways to double your business and probably do it in less time, right? Because growing your business is all about strategy. It's not about there's tactics, right? There's tactics, but sometimes what really grows your business is having the free mental space to think about, it's hard to explain, but the way I'll put it is, it's hard for me to articulate it, but the way I'm going to put it is, if you're just busy all the time, you don't have the space to be able to think of really, really good ideas and execute on things that could actually absolutely change your business for you, right? The only reason I've gotten to the point, and there's people who do it way better than me, but I'm just sharing my business. The only way that I've been able to get to the point where I'm only working a couple hours per week, if that, and making over 6 figures, is because I had so much free time. I was able to figure out how to build all these systems and processes and invest in my team to do it all. If I was busy, I never would have been able to do it. So you have to build that muscle. You have to trust other people. You have to invest in other people. And you have to understand that if you're freaking busy as hell in your business, working 50, 60, 70, 80 hours per week, it's going to take you 6 to 12 to 18 months if you want to outsource it all, if you've got the margin. I know not everybody does. If you want to outsource 80, 90% of your work, so you have that free time to maybe start a YouTube channel or do other things or just freaking dance salsa or go hiking all the time, whatever you want to do. It's a process. It takes time. When you hire somebody, there's a lot of problems and challenges and nuances to it. It takes time. Like, you're trying to replicate yourself. Like, and the thing is, you can't outsource something that you don't already know how to do really, really well. So I'm considering in this whole rant of mine that you already know how to source really well. You already know how to analyze products really well. You already know how to list and ship very well. You already know how to fix stranded inventory, because essentially what you have to do is you have to pass that knowledge on to somebody else. But the problem is, when you pass it on to them, they're not going to really understand it if you don't mentor them, if you don't have standard operating procedures, if you don't reinforce what they need to do, and if you don't help and mentor and coach them with what's good and what's bad, and mentoring them with mistakes. That's why I shoot a lot of Loom videos. We have standard operating procedures. If you're not managing them, if you don't put systems in place to track their performance, human beings just in general, 90% of them are just going to slowly slip and slide off the scale and start to underperform over time. So there's a lot that goes into it. But if you want to have the freedom and not just the money, you've got to be able to be willing to invest in other people. So I don't know if this video was I feel like I'm all over the place. I think I am. There's like so many thoughts in my head about this that it's hard to get it all out. But let me know if you have any questions or any follow-ups with this, and I would love to help you out. But I've hired all my virtual assistants, Onlinejobs.PH. That's where I've hired them. And I love hiring from the Philippines. I love the people from the Philippines, really good people, honest people, and you can hire them for really great wages and offer really incredible incentives to them as well to get them to work really hard and really makes an impact in their lives as well. So yeah, let me know if you have any questions. With that being said, much love. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.